Hello students, I hope you are doing good. Welcome back to the daily news analysis. I am your educator Prithviraj Singh. Well guys, we know that the world is at crossroads. There are fears of the Third World War. Russia has invaded Ukraine, it has surrounded the Kyiv, and America along with UK has threatened Russia, and not only threatened, they have imposed severe and harsh sanctions on Russia. Guys, is it the rise of Russia and China? Because pandemic has shown that America has lost its supremacy and China has emerged as a superpower. Guys, on this backdrop, probably after this war, it may lead to Russia and China becoming the world superpowers. Let us understand the important news articles of 25th February 2022. Right on the first page of the news, you have an article about India's tightrope walk between the West and Russia. Guys, India is in a diplomatic dilemma because of the reason that India, especially in the last decade, after the Modi government, India has tilted more towards West, right? Because of its fears against China, right? But at the same time, we must understand the fact that Russia is the biggest arms supplier to India. Almost 60 to 70% of the arms and ammunitions come from Russia, right? So India has to walk the tightrope because on one hand, we are militarily dependent on Russia. Apart from that, we also had good historical and cultural ties with Russia. But in the present scenario, our economy is definitely, we are a market economy and we are more tilted towards West, more tilted towards America. And rightly so, we have seen it from many associations which we have entered with America, especially in the Indo-Pacific region, like Quad, right? So India, Japan, America, and Australia have joined hands in a security I would say economic dialogue and an association called as Quad, right? So as to counter the threat of assertive China, especially in the South China Sea, right? So over this backdrop, India is in a diplomatic dilemma. Let us understand the issue, right? So guys, in the recently held emergency meeting at United Nations Security Council, of which India is a non-permanent member, India had called for immediate de-escalation, but the West thinks that it is actually exposing the double standards of India. Why? Because India had not condemned Russia's statement of recognition or declaration of independence of the separate regions of Donetsk and Luhansk, in the Donbas region of eastern Ukraine, right? So India had not rejected or had not condemned the Russian statement or Russian declaration of independence of Donbas, right? So Western countries are saying that it is a double standard of India, and at the same time, as I said, that India has very good military ties with Russia. Almost 60 to 70% of the military supplies are coming from Russia, and India cannot afford to alienate Russia, particularly when India and Chinese troops remain in border standoff, right? We know that we are not having a good time with China, especially after year 2020, post the Galwan clashes, right? China is asserting over the boundary, over the LSC, and rightly so. India cannot sever its ties with Russia because Russia and China are a close partner, right? So there is a growing China-Russia axis, right? So therefore, India don't want to, cannot afford to alienate Russia because it is dependent on Russia when China, pushes its button over the LAC. Russia is also key to India's engagement in Afghanistan post the advent of Taliban, right? Now, As far as the ties with America is concerned, we have already discussed that we have security alliances like Quad. At the same time, India is, importing the military equipments, especially S-400 air defense system from Russia, and America has time and again threatened, that it may impose, she may impose CAATSA over India, and so CAATSA, we have discussed yesterday and day before that CAATSA is against the American adversaries like Russia, Iran and North Korea. Any country entering into trade with the military trade with these countries would see some restrictions and sanctions, imposed by America, right? So this is all about this article. And Russia, has been calibrated in statement on issues, such as Huawei's 5G rollout, Hong Kong and COVID-19. At the same time, although China has not recognized Crimea as part of Russia, at the same time, Moscow also has taken a neutral stance on Beijing's claim in the South China Sea, right? So they both are on the same platter, and and there is a rising China-Russia nexus, right? Guys, there are many thousands of Indian students which are stuck in Ukraine, and especially those who are, studying medical, MBBS, and so government of India is exploring some other routes, the land borders in the neighboring countries like Poland, Romania, Hungary and Slovak Republic. So coming to the next news article. Guys, we at ClatPrep do not limit ourselves to the Hindu newspaper. We also cover the important articles from Indian Express, right? So it is very important for those students who are preparing for the Clat examination and any other examination, right? So the articles which we actually deliver are relevant for Clat as well as the UPSC examinations or the state service examinations, right? So guys, don't forget to press the bell icon, like, forward, do comment, give your feedback, right? And stay tuned to get any new notifications. The article from the Indian Express talks about the MSPs, minimum support price, and how they are decided. Guys, this has been a news, very much a news during the farmers' protest against the contentious farm laws, right? And MSP is the minimum price or the guarantee that the government gives to the farmers. Students, in time of bumper production, the prices may fall, right? Because when the supply is more, the prices are bound to fall, correct? Because it is a bumper production, right? Any particular season, or year may see bumper production, right? And then the prices in the market may fall for the commodity, correct? So farmers fear that they won't get the right price for their, inputs, correct? Number one. Number two, it may also happen that the international prices for a particular commodity, let's say wheat or any particular commodity, has sharply nosedived, and because of this the imports become cheap, right? So in these scenarios, the prices of the commodity nosedive or they fall, right? So the government gives a assurance, right, or gives a floor, right? That means the government is assuring the farmers that this is the minimum that the government would give to the farmers in case they're in the case when the price falls, right? So it acts as an assurance, right? And this is assurance given to the farmers by government is called as minimum support price, correct? I hope it is clear. As you can see, guys, MSP is a minimum price for any crop that the government considers as remunerative for farmers, because farmers also do lot of efforts in in sowing, in cultivation, and therefore they ask for the at least the cost of the inputs that they have utilized, right? And hence deserving of support. It's also the price that the government agencies pay whenever they procure the particular crop. Now, apart from the minimum remuneration, so that their cost of cultivation can be recovered, right? Because a farmer have to, look for the recovery of the cost of collection and some profit at least, at the same time, government today is giving minimum support price for, guys, 23 crops. I repeat, government is giving MSP for 23 crops, correct? So therefore this is important. They may ask you in the examination, and these are the 3 crops which the government incentivizes the production of, right? So by the MSP route, the government also incentivizes, the production of certain crops. I hope you are getting my point. In this sense, MSPs create the benchmark for farm prices, not just in those commodities for which they are announced, but also in crops that are substitutes, right? Now, who decides what the MSP would be and how, right? Guys, MSPs are announced by the union government, but they do so based on the decision on the recommendations of CACP, Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices, right? I repeat, it is Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. Guys, it is a advisory body. It is not a statutory body. It is not being formed by any act of the parliament. It is just an advisory body, number one. Number two, it works under the Ministry of Agriculture, right? As you can see on the screen, it is an advisory body and not a statutory body. Statutory means it is not being formed by the act of the parliament. It is attached to the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India, right? So in this sense, MSPs have been decided on the recommendation of the CACP. Now, while recommending the MSPs, the CACP looks at the following factors. That is the demand and supply of a commodity, right? So that means they consider what is the demand of any particular commodity and how much is the supply, right? Plus what is the cost of production involved, plus the market price trends, right? Both domestic and international, plus intercrop price parity, the term of trade between agriculture and non-agriculture, and a minimum of 50% as the margin over the cost of production. So that is also a very important factor that is being taken into account while deciding the MSP. That means the farmer should get at least minimum 50% as the margin over the cost of production, plus the likely implications of an MSP on consumers of that product, right? So these are the factors, as you can see on the screen, which are being taken into account by CACP while determining MSPs, right? Guys, MSP are generally consider many costs like A2 plus FL and C2, and I expect a question on this, right? It is very important, guys, and I expect a question on this. A2 plus FL plus C2, right? So A2 is actually that covers all cash and in-kind expenses incurred by farmers, right? So all cash and in-kind expenses incurred by farmers on seeds, right? So whatever inputs that are the cost of input that the farmer incurs, right? For example, the farmer uses his cost for purchasing of seeds, fertilizers, chemicals, any hired labor or fuel or irrigation, right? So that cost has to be recovered, correct? That is called as A2. The second thing that the government considers is A2 plus FL. A2 plus FL is the actual cost, right? So A2 is this is actual cost plus an imputed value of unpaid family labor, right? So because the family labor has also, that cost has also to be worked upon, although it is not seen, but then that imputed value also has to be taken into account. So that is called as FL, right? A2 plus FL, correct? Now the third thing that is being considered is A2 plus FL along with the revenues foregone on owned land. That means the rent that a farmer gives plus the fixed the interest over the fixed capital asset, right? So because the farmer also has to give interest, also has to give rent over the land where he is working. So therefore C2 includes A2 plus FL plus the revenue foregone on the owned land, that is rent, plus the interest on the fixed capital assets, right? Now the farmers are demanding that MSP be calculated on C2 method, right? Based on C2 method. Today the government is actually calculating either on E2 plus FL or E2, right? So therefore the farmers are demanding that C2 method must be used while calculating the MSP, right? So I'll repeat again, A2 is all the input cost for which the farmer incur for fertilizer, chemical, hired labor, fuel, irrigation, etc. A2 plus FL is the actual cost plus the imputed value of the unpaid family labor, right? All the family members working there, their imputed value, right? C2 is A2 plus FL plus the rent and plus the interest which the farmer pays for the fixed capital assets, right? So these are the methods for calculating the MSP. I hope it is clear. Guys, as I said that there are 23 crops which are being covered under MSP support system, and these are those crops. They may ask you that how many types of crops in cereal are included in MSP. So there are 7 types, like paddy, that is rice, wheat, maize, bajra, jowar, ragi, barley, right? If I have to ask you that which among the following are the Kharif crops and Rabi crops, you can just give your answer in the comment section, right? So just when you're watching the video, do give the answer in the comment box, which among the following crops are under the category of our Kharif crops and which among them are Rabi crops. You all know that Kharif crops are those crops which are sown during the rainy season and they are harvested just on the onset of winter. Rabi crops are, on the other hand, those crops which are sown during the winters, like wheat, and they're harvested with the onset of summers, right? For example, wheat. And Kharif, the examples are bajra, right? Maize, right? Wheat is your Rabi crop. Paddy is your Kharif crop because it is water intensive crop. Similarly, chana is also your Rabi crop, right? Now you find out that which all crops are Kharif and Rabi, right? Anyways, 5 types of pulses: chana, arhar, urad, moong and masoor. 7 oil seeds like rapeseed, mustard, groundnut, soybean, sunflower, sesame and safflower, niger seed. And 4 commercial crops like cotton, sugarcane, copra and raw jute, right? I hope it is clear. Again guys, an important article from the Indian Express. What is quantum technology demo done by DRDO and IIT Delhi? Guys, recently a team of experts have successfully conducted an experiment and demonstration called as quantum key distribution, QKD, link for a distance of over 100 kilometers, right, between Prayagraj and Vindhyachal in Uttar Pradesh. So this is a successful demonstration of quantum key distribution link, QKD, right? And they have used the commercial grade optical fiber. Let us understand what is QKD or quantum key distribution. Guys, quantum key distribution actually links to it's a high secure communication which uses the quantum technology, right? And with the use of some random secret keys, 2 different transponders can be can communicate with each other, right? So in this way, QKD is a secure communication which utilizes a cryptographic protocol involving various components of quantum mechanics. Random secret keys are shared by both of them, and only they can use it to encrypt and decrypt the messages, and it is being used for very highly secure communication. Guys, normally when the communication is taking place in air, in air or a wired link, it requires encryption keys, right? However, the quantum-based communication offers a robust solution to sharing the keys securely, right? So the keys are being shared, right? The encryption keys for the communication, are being shared securely through quantum mechanics, and it offers a robust solution to sharing the keys securely, and it provides a very highly secure communication, right, by random secret keys, correct? So they may ask you what is quantum key distribution, and where the government has recently demonstrated the QKD link. So it has been demonstrated at Vindhyachal in Uttar Pradesh and Prayagraj. They have been linked through quantum key distribution link, right? Guys, recently, in the year 2020, DRDO Young Scientist Laboratory for Quantum Technologies, which was a DRDO facility in Mumbai, developed a quantum random number generation, QRNG, right, which has the ability to detect random quantum events and convert those into a stream of binary digits. Guys, as far as the significance of this technology is concerned, many countries, especially, and India has joined the league of the elite countries like USA, Canada, and several European countries, China, Japan, South Korea, right? And guys, and they may ask you in the examination that which country used the first quantum satellite. So it was China to actually launch the first quantum satellite, and also the world's first optical quantum computing machine, right? So guys, it is very important. They may ask you that, it may be a statement based question, and they may ask you that which of the following countries have launched the first quantum satellite. So the answer is China. At the same time, China has also established world's first optical quantum computing machine. Guys, it is very important. Quantum mechanics and quantum technology is very important, and rightly so. Union budget of 2021 has saw the allocation of rupees 8,000 crore towards the national mission on quantum technologies and applications. So it is a very positive move, very good move by the government. They have allocated 8,000 crore towards national mission on quantum technologies and applications, right, in the budget 2020-21, right? Plus, in December 21, just a few months back, Indian Army, with support from National Security Council Secretariat, has established Quantum Lab at Military College of Telecommunication Engineering at Mao near Indore, to spearhead the research and training in this key developing field, right? So they may ask you that the Quantum Lab has been established few months back by Indian Army at which place? So it is at Mao, right? So please be careful and by heart this information. Quantum Lab has been established by Indian Army at Military College of Telecommunication Engineering at Mao, and it would help the Indian military to actually secure its communications, right? I hope it is clear. Guys, let us move to the editorials of the Hindu. Shaking up Europe's security architecture. Now this article talks about the challenges which are being faced by NATO, especially whose leader is America. As I've said that America and the NATO do not carry the same prominence that it used to carry earlier, and with growing China post pandemic, we have seen that NATO can at best impose sanctions, right? But it do not have answer to Russia's aggression in Ukraine, right? We'll explore this article, and all that is happening today in Ukraine is a bizarre drama that has been playing out over past 8 months. Guys, you would be knowing that the Ukrainian president Zelensky, he has time and again said that he want to make Ukraine a member of NATO. And this is what Russia do not want. Russia don't want Ukraine to be the part of NATO, because if that happens, America would directly be placing its missiles close to the Russian border, and within 5 minutes it can shoot Moscow, right? So therefore, the eastward expansion of NATO is the reason of the Russian invasion in Ukraine, right? Now, at the heart of it is the instability in the post-Cold War security order, right? Guys, America's even NATO had promised to reverse the 7 years of relentless. Definitely, American president and the Russian president did met in June last year, promising to reverse the 7 years of acrimonious relation between the two nations. You all know that in the year 2014, Crimea was being annexed by Russia. Post the civil war against the eastern region of Ukraine, that is Donbass, and the Ukrainian government, right? And this actually led to the the Donbass region being declared as autonomous. Correct. Guys, America is also doing the geopolitical rebalancing. It is no more a superpower, especially post pandemic, and it is actually spreading its wings over Indo-Pacific. It has entered into the security dialogue with India, Japan and Australia, something called as Quad, and in this way it can keep an eye over aggressive China, especially in the South China Sea. Now, these were Putin's terms. Guys, engagement has to be on equal terms. This is something which Putin wants, and Russia would cooperate in this geopolitical rebalancing only if its concerns are met, and its only concern is the halt over the expansion of NATO. And Russia has repeatedly articulated its grievance that NATO's expansion has violated the promises made prior to the breakup of the Soviet. We all know that the Cold War started, and the reason was the economic ideologies. It was the conflict of ideology, or it was an ideological conflict between the communist nations spearheaded by the Soviets and the capitalist being led by America, right? And with the disintegration of the Soviet in the year 1991, it was being promised to Soviets that NATO won't expand, right? But we know that NATO has grown, and today it has 39 members. So therefore, Russia has registered its grievance over the NATO's expansion, right? At the same time, NATO's, I would say, influence has also degraded, and it has we can see that because of the uneven economic development and a diversity of political traditions and historical consciousness. We know that Brexit also happened, and many European countries are also actually witnessing an uneven economic development. Even NATO was being formed based on ideological solidarity, and that solidarity was to make the world free against the communist expansion. But with the disintegration or collapse of the Soviet and the Warsaw Pact, there was no question of this ideological solidarity. So therefore, they don't find any reason to stand together. Correct? At the same time, American leadership has normally succeeded in papering over differences, but the growing ambitions of countries is making it increasingly difficult, right? So in this case, guys, Ukraine has illustrated the divisions and its pressure on NATO in 2008 to recognize Ukraine's membership aspirations and its encouragement for a change of government in Kyiv. And today we know that Zelensky government in Ukraine is pro-West, right? And that is what Russia do not want, right? So in this sense, Putin would be convinced only when NATO, gives him assurance for assurance that it would not expand itself. I hope it is clear. Even as you see that NS2 or Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, America has threatened that they would be, cutting off the NS2 natural gas pipeline, for which the major client is Germany, right? So it would be a loss for the Europe, as well as Russia would be losing a very big market, right? So just read this article. It is an interesting article, right? So it talks about the Russia-West confrontations, right? The US administration's intensified engagement, right? And I believe that it is a tactic by Russia and China so that Joe Biden administration loses its focus over Indo-Pacific, right? And it gets itself over-occupied in Russia and Ukraine, right? In this sense, China would get an scope and space to expand itself in the Indo-Pacific, right? And this would actually lead to the emergence of Russia and China as super leaders, right? Similarly, there was another article in the editorial page. This is the last one. Russia's NATO problem, right? We know that, guys, the NATO expansion and the war in Ukraine would have ripple effects across the world. We know that the markets have tanked. Sensex and Nifty have crashed by more than 2,000 points. Even the world's stock markets have completely crashed because, guys, Russia is the second largest oil exporter and also the third largest exporter of the natural gas, correct? So the world is interconnected, right? And therefore, if something happens in any one part of the world, it would have definitely the ripple effects and the repercussions on the other parts of the world, right? America has imposed sanctions over many banks and elites in Russia, and there is a possibility of a backlash because, as you all know, that America has supplied world's most disastrous tanks, Abrams tanks, to Poland, and there is a possibility that they may replicate the same, but I'm not sure how the things would turn up. Although British Prime Minister has said that this would lead to a bloodshed, right? Now, guys, Russian president says that America has violated the founding act, which talks about the mutual respect between Russia and NATO. So, and this is the worry, what is the way forward? Guys, we know that post 1990s, NATO has quietly underwent 5 rounds of enlargement, pulling many former Soviet Union countries into its orbit. And it also wants Ukraine to come into the NATO orbit. And that is what Russia do not want. As I said, that losing Ukraine, because Ukraine is the second most populous country. If I compare it with the former Soviet republics, plus it also has the very large area, right? So Russia would never want to lose Ukraine, and the former president of Russia once said that losing Ukraine is like cutting off my head, right? So it is very close to their heart, and that is the reason why they have invaded, right? So I hope it was an interesting session, and we'll come up with a new important news article of tomorrow. Stay tuned. Press the bell icon, do like, forward and comment. Thank you. Wish you all the best. Good day. Goodbye.